Welcome to Hart, where we talk about games, movies, animes, young and old. And today we're going to be talking about, I think it's 2002, Skinamarink. Yes, 2002 Skinamarink. Okay, so this movie is so insane, and I think that there's a certain type of person who's going to be like me and who's going to be very scared of this movie, where I think that it really builds off of the childlike being scared of the dark, like when you're a child, or even like for people like me, like I'm not scared of the dark anymore, but I still have that same sensation of running up the stairs after turning the basement lights off, because you just have that unreasonable sensation of someone coming up behind you, chasing you up the stairs. Or I have this, like, at my parents' house, it's like a long basement, and the whole one back room is unfinished. So when I would have to turn off the string lights going through the hall, every light I would turn off with like the darkness behind me, it was as if I was not protected anymore. And like this weird thing from my childhood, right? That somewhat still is there as an adult. But the only reason why I'm explaining that is because that sensation and that was this movie. So if you're kind of listening to that and you don't really relate, then maybe this movie is going to be kind of weird for you. If you understand what I'm talking about, then that is basically what this movie is. It is so like you're looking into the dark and you can't quite make out if that's a coat, or if that's a person, or if that's just a chair, or if that's whatever, and that's just the entire movie from start to finish. It's just so many questions that are not answered at all, by the way. It's very up to you to come up with your own ideas of it. Like, it's a very experimental movie, I think, in not just the things that I'm explaining, but in its cinematography. There are just shots of like the ceiling, and it's just a shot of a light at the ceiling, and it's just, you just kind of hear what's going on around it. It's not like a typical over the shoulder looking at the person, and then when the other person's talking, it cuts to the other person talking. One of the scenes, someone walks into a room and then two people walk out of the room, and the whole shot is like knee-high level. And because they're kids and they don't know where their parents are, they're like whispering. They're like, "Hey, where's mom and dad?" And there's like a little bit of subtitles, and the audio is very like jarring and fuzzy because seems like it's like, found footage almost, but again, it's shot at like knee-high level, so you don't see their faces or even really a lot of their bodies. You just see like their feet and their legs, and then the entrance to the room. And normally in movies, when it's dark, like when it's a scene that's shot at night, they still have lights to make it look good. Not in this fucking movie. This movie, they said, when they looked at their budget sheet for lights, they just said, fuck that, we don't need those. They just cranked the gain as high as they could and went for it. And it works so well in this movie because it creates this found footage VCR type grain on the camera. And it adds to the whole, like, I don't know exactly what I'm seeing when I look into the void. Because there's parts where it literally is the black screen and it's almost like it's pulsing because of how the fuzz is going over the screen. And it's just, you start to think that you see things in a black screen that are, I'm sure it's obviously all intentional. It's not just coincidence. But now I've talked a lot about this movie without even explaining what it's about. And that's because, what do I even say? It's just so fucking weird. And like I said, there is no conclusion, but is there even like a start? It's weird. Basically, the short of it is really, if you were to like look it up, like the IMDb little tagline for it is, two children wake up in the middle of the night to find their father is missing, and all the windows and doors in their home have vanished. Now, you probably have an idea in your head of what that will look like. I promise you, it's not that. It is not anything that you would have imagined. Don't recommend watching this movie alone. Zone in for this movie. We watched it and it was fucking scary. I had goosebumps for a couple of the scenes. Like, there were a few jump scares that genuinely got me. And it brought back this I'm genuinely like, it's like bringing this uprooted fear from a childhood. That's how the movie felt. That's why I have like such strong feelings of like, if you had any sort of like childhood, I guess, trauma of anything that involved like darkness, then this movie will probably fuck you up. Like, it has a slow start, and then there's a scene where the parents are like sitting on the bed, I guess, but the kids don't see like the parents' face at all. And they tell the kid to look under the bed, and it's like heart is just pounding. I'm like, don't look under the bed. Oh my God. It's just so stressful. And I was so like when there was a couple of the scary parts, really scary parts, I just like couldn't even keep my eyes open for a couple of the jump scares. I ended up, I have fucking goosebumps like everywhere. It was so deep rooted. This movie's so insane, but it is like, I understand the mixed reviews for it because I really think this movie can just not work for some people. Some people just won't like it, but I don't necessarily know how to judge that. Like I've kind of said that, but I mean, I guess the movie really does feel like a nightmare. Like it's very disjointed and you kind of don't really know what's going on. Like there isn't really a plot. There kind of is a plot. There's not really a plot, but there kind of is. Like there's this, I don't really want to say too much about, like, I don't know. I've been looking at stuff. Like I'm looking up stuff about the movie right now, which is always, I feel like a positive thing after watching a movie and you end up Googling stuff about it because you want to know more. I feel like that's pretty positive. And there are a lot of different theories, some that I wouldn't have even thought of. But something that I just read about it was, it's Canadian. We love that. It's directed by Kyle Edward Ball. It's his feature directorial debut, which is pretty impressive, I would say. This movie is definitely an insanely experimental movie. And he shot it at his childhood home. And also the budget is like $15,000. It's like super fucking cheap, or it's maybe 25, but regardless, yeah, $15,000 budget. It made $2 million, so good on him. So yeah, I thought that was very interesting where it's shot in his childhood home, because again, it's just reinforcing this whole idea of like just children being scared and the things that their imagination can do, and like the nightmares or night terrors of children. Like I had night terrors. I think maybe that's why I really like this movie so much, because I had like crazy night terrors when I was younger that were a big deal when I was younger. It involved sleepwalking, I would run, I would just do some crazy shit. So I guess that's why I personally like really relate to this movie. It's very real for me, so I kind of just get it. But at the same time, as a movie, like I don't even know if there's is Skinamarink a monster? I don't really know. Is everything that's happening kind of a dream or a different thing that I don't want to say because it's a little bit of a spoiler? And then even the ending, is the ending maybe waking up from the dream, or is the ending a part of the nightmare, or is it the monster trying to do, because there's so many questions, but I don't want to ask too many because I don't want to spoil it. But well, I guess not really spoiling it. It's a couple years old now, but I guess just if you haven't seen it, I would say watch it. It's a very interesting movie. I feel like you got to be a little more open-minded about it. And if you had any sort of night terrors, anything like that growing up, any sort of severe scared of the dark, I feel like this movie will hit home for you like it did to me. Like even just thinking about it now, like my heart's pumping a little bit. And I'm going like this. I'm tense. So I guess that's kind of all I have to say. Is that the movie's pretty different, very experimental, and I think that it can bring out a very primal fear in you that I think everyone really has at one point, of just being scared of the dark, just not being sure. You know, be careful what you're looking at because it might be looking back. Like you don't know what you're looking at when you're looking into the dark, what's looking back at you, and just the crazy imaginations that can come about that. And I think that it's a good movie to at least try and watch because it is very different, and I think that it'll just be maybe known as one of those movies, and it could start some sort of a trend of movies like this in the future, because I really don't think there are many movies like this. It's kind of I don't know, you just get crazy movies like this only every now and then where you can really walk away from it going, at least to say like that was a very different movie. And there are so many theories and speculations that come with it after. Like I'm sure you'll come away with it thinking something different than what the person you're with watching, and at least you'll be able to talk about it later, and it can definitely be something that you can really get into and really look into if you want to. So I think that there is a lot there. So that's all I got for you right now, but there's definitely more where that came from on Just Jacob. I just talked about Wolfman. I have my 2024 recap, my best movies in 2024. Got a video about popcorn buckets coming out, and lots more. So hit that subscribe and stay updated for the next one. But until then, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. And Skinamarink do.